What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another Animous tutorial. And today we're going to be going over thinning your paints. Let's get started. I had a lot of questions coming up to me saying like, hey, what do you use to thin your paints, what ratio you use, what kind of materials you use, where do you get the stuff, right? So we'll talk about all that today. Biggest thing is that you need to remember that when pre-thinning your paint, you got to make sure that you have all the tools and materials that you need, which we're going to start with now. Biggest thing you're going to need is going to be bottles. Now these are 60 milliliter bottles, which I buy basically off of Amazon and any retailer that might have them at a decent price. And I usually purchase these to pre-thin my paints when it comes to like Mr. Color. So 60 milliliter is more than enough, seeing as you're thinning 10 milliliter bottles into a big bottle, 20 milliliters, and then we'll go from there. Of course you're gonna need these, right? So someone asked me not too long ago, where did you get these? So I bought a pack of these off of Amazon, and I'll try to look for the specific size so I can list it in my description, so that way you guys can get some of those too. Same with these. Now, these, this is funny because I bought a pack of these thinking it was just going to bring like, I don't know, 100, and it had 1,000. So because I misread it. Normally, what I use these for is for whenever I have any type of residual paint inside. Like for example, Mr. Hobby paints, they tend to sit at the bottom. So when you're finished, pouring your thinner and shaking it and doing everything that you need to do, sometimes you'll get some sticking at the bottom. So I use this to mix it around, then throw it in the bottle. You'll also need some thinner. Now it just comes down to preference. Now I like leveling thinner, mainly because it has a retarder. So it helps the layer of paint settle well, so it doesn't just dry as fast as you spray it. I've been using Mr. Color leveling thinner for a long time. However, you can also get normal thinner to thin your paints. Right, so today we will be using leveling thinner to thin these paints out. There's also we're also going to talk about pre-mixed paints and acrylics, so just stay tuned for that. Right, so one thing that I do want to mention is that we will be working with lacquer paints today. However, this does apply to other paints as well. The only thing that will change might be just the materials. Like instead of using leveling thinner for acrylics, you would use water if they're water-based. Mainly because from my experience, at least, some of them, if they're water-based and you use like, I don't know, alcohol, it'll just clump it up, and I don't like that. So water for water-based, and if they're not water-based, then you can use, my go-to would probably be alcohol for it. So whenever you open these paints, and I've learned this over time, so this just might be a skill, whatever. Whenever you open these paints, you can actually tell where the line of the paint, where it sits, right? If you let it sit for a while, it's just going to drip down, and it'll come up to a certain point. And it's usually this level right here, right? So this specific line right here, that's where the paint usually sits. Now, granted, sometimes it might be a little bit lower, but either way, you can tell with your eye when it's going to be, where it's going to be at. So what do? For example, I measure it by eye. Now, I can hear the purists, and the elitists just screaming right now out of the top of their lung. Why doesn't he use a measuring cup? Why doesn't he measure the stuff? Well, here's the thing. This is a 10 milliliter bottle. This makes 20 milliliters, right? So they say that some people do like 2.5 to 1 or 2.5 to whatever. So mine actually do 2 to 1 mixes with lacquer paints. Depending on the paint, if it's too thick, then I might add a little bit more. It's just as you just have to keep a lookout for that milky consistency, right? So because that's what you want. We're gonna go ahead and mix it and see where it takes us from there. And then we'll go from there. Now, I will do 2 and 1, which equals 4 and 2, and then we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna go ahead, grab your bottle, and then you're gonna open this up. And if it wants to open, sometimes it gives me a little problem when I wear my gloves. All right, here we go. Grab one of these, throw them in there. Now, they do sell different sizes of these on, they're like bearing balls or whatever. They sell different sizes on Amazon. I usually one is enough, especially if you have like a paint shaker, then one should be enough. So next thing what you're going to do is that you're going to grab your paint, your Mr. Hobby paint. And this will apply to Tamiya too, since the size of the bottles are the same. Now, these bottles have grooves in them for the for whenever you are you're screwing the cap on, right? So what I like to do is that I want to make sure that I get in between the grooves here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay the bottle and lay the corner of the bottle on the groove, and then gently tip the Mr. Hobby bottle over, and then just pour it in. And then as it's going, I'll just go ahead and lift it up and hold it still. Now, in this case, we're going to go ahead and use Mr. Leveling Thinner. Let's use this bottle, right? Go ahead and open it up. Now, these bottles, you can usually get them locally. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, what's the difference between Mr. Color Leveling Thinner 100 or 200 and like 110, you know, whatever, 400. That's actually how much thinner is on the bottle, okay? That is not like if it's a different one. No, when they say Mr. Color Leveling Thinner 400, it means 400 milliliters, okay? So just keep that in mind whenever you're buying these. 110 doesn't make it less than 400, it just makes it less milliliters. Now I know some people might say, well, who's not gonna know that? Well, somebody that's starting in the hobby might not know the difference, so I figured I'd let you guys know. The numbers that you see here, like for example, this bottle right here that says Mr. Color Thinner 50, this is 50 milliliters, okay? 50 milliliters, all right? All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and continue thinning. So if we're doing it the right way, right, which would be measuring everything, then we will go ahead and fill up to the 3 milliliter line. And this one doesn't want to fill up to the 3 milliliter line. Let's drop. Now we gotta keep dropping. Oh, drop too much. This is why I don't use this. Alright, so that's 3 milliliters. Drop it in. 3. 6. 9. And 10. Now, if you can take a look inside this bottle, there's the same amount of thinner inside this bottle than there was paint earlier. So with that being said, what you're going to do now is that you're going to take the cap, put it in there, shake the living crap out of it, and then you're going to pour it into that bottle in there. You're going to grab the 2 grooves, press it against the bottle, and then gently spill it in. So we got a little overspill there, so I want to make sure we pick that up with a shop towel. All right. So now that we have that, so this is where this comes in, right? So I know that it still has some at the bottom, so what I want to do is I want to shake it very well. Get all the pigments in there. See how the bottom is cleared now? That's what you want. You want the bottom to be cleared out. Alright, now you go ahead and clean the excess. As you can see, the bottle is cleared out. No more paint, it's a little bit thinner in there. Let me go ahead and try to pour it in the bottle. Don't waste nothing, right? So, and there you go. Mr. Hobby Paint. So Animous, how do you label your bottles? Like, what would I do in that instance? Well, first you want to make sure there's no debris on it, right? Next thing you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and close this cap here. And then I do one very simple thing that I picked up from someone else, right? So this has been very convenient. My bottles are usually one-time use anyway. I don't keep refilling the same bottles, you know, with the paint. Usually when it runs out, I'll just get brand new bottles. So what I do is that I take my hobby knife, and this is going to be a one-time thing, so hopefully I get it right the first time, and it doesn't mess up, so I don't have to use the second bottle there. But what I like to do is that I go ahead and peel. Oh, now it wants to cooperate. All right. Gently go ahead and peel the Mr. Color, Mr. Hobby label. All right. Oh, come on, buddy. Let me do this on the first go. I don't have to use the other bottle. All right. All right, awesome. You just grab this label, stick it on your bottle. You stick it however you want. I like to stick it like this, sideways. All right. And there you have it. Mr. Hobby Color purple, right? All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and set this to the side. All right, well, so now we're gonna go ahead and thin a larger milliliter bottle. So I know that we just did the purple, Mr. Color purple. Now we're gonna do a this is actually Anchored black. That is super black. So this could be compared to, I want to say the closest thing right now to this is like AOK Silvero's Gloss Black, which is a very good brand of paint. I have it as well. And then this one I acquired a while back. So for those of you that are not familiar, these Anchored paints, they're super sticky. So you might see me struggle a little bit with the with the paint itself. So let's go ahead and open this one up. This is going to be very stinky. I know that for a fact. Lacquer paints usually smell really strong, so whenever you're working with them, that's why I always recommend using a face cover of some sort. All right, here we go. Just trying to pop it out just gently, but usually it takes a while to get this done on these, right? So so you're gonna do the same. I'm gonna do the same thing, right? You're gonna look for that second layer there. Let's place it down, place your bottle down. You're gonna flip it and gently let it pour into the bottle. So now that we have that, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing. Now this bottle is already measured, right? So it does have, the reason why I like bottles like these is because they're already measured to 120 ml. So in reality, all you gotta do is keep filling it up until you get to 120. Popped off. All right, place it right there. Same technique as always. You're gonna go ahead and wherever they intertwine, that's where you want to do it. So, and pour. Oh, we got a man down. Oh no. Well, it's some sad times, everyone. So after 8 years, my hobby knife just died on camera. Wow. All right. Well, thank you for your service. Let's go ahead and set that to the side. The work doesn't stop, right? So, all right. You got the bottle. Stick it on the bottle. And there you have it. Next thing I want to talk to you about is going to be pre-thinned paints. Now, this is going to fall into the category of paints that are already come ready to use in a bottle, whether it be airbrush ready or one of those that don't require solvents to be mixed in them to be able to use them. Here, for an example, for lacquer paints, I have Hobby Mio and I have G Paint. Now, I know there's controversy on whether or not these paints are good. I've had problems with these paints before through my airbrush. My airbrush doesn't like them. Sometimes they spray a little bit weird, or the coverage is not the greatest, but I can say for 100% say that their metallic colors their metallic colors are great. I love this gunmetal. I love the dark iron paint. But to me, I try to thin them a little bit more using leveling thinner, and it just didn't like it. It just didn't like it. Maybe I have to use normal thinner. I'll try that at some point to see, because it feels like the airbrush struggles and it's too thick to spray. So as you saw from my Swallowtail review for when I was using it after I fixed it, you can tell that the Mr. Color Gold, it just sprayed instantly, and then the G Paint was actually giving me issues with the spray. Now, I love Hobby Mio. This is one of the brands that I usually follow, and I love it. I love their products. I love their paints. I love their clears too. Their clears are amazing. I use that and Mr. Hobby Clears. Now, this I got from our friends over there at Robokai. They're usually my go-to when it comes to like Hobby Mio paints, as well as AOK Silver Oaks. So pre-thin paints are paints that do not require additional solvent and are usually airbrush ready. This applies to every ready to spray paint that's either acrylic or lacquer or enamel or whatever, you know, base out there. It applies to everyone. What does that mean? It means that you'll go ahead and take this bottle, and then you're gonna grab the nozzles that it brings. Like for example, Hobby Mio usually brings these nozzles which are like spill proof. And then you'll take the security cap off. You'll take this cap off, the security cap off, and then go from there. So the majority of these bottles will come sealed like this. Take that security cap off, put the nozzle on, starts painting, right? For G Paint, they do come like this already with the nozzle on, and then when you take them off, they do have the security in there. Mostly their metallic paints, I like them for detailing. I can say that the pigments are super nice when they lay out, but their other paints, I just haven't had a good experience with them. Some people might have, like I'm saying, I'm not saying there are bad paints. They just haven't worked out for me in the way that I want it. Mainly because I don't like it. I don't like to have to spray a part at almost 30 psi. And that's just, you know, but that's just my opinion. You know, it's not the same. I'd say that the gunmetal and the dark iron and some of their metallic color paints are definitely worth it as far as price point goes. But you can also buy something else as well. So depends. You know, tell me what you think. You know, if you have G Paint, do you like your G Paint? You know, just write it down in the comments. Same with Hobby Mio. Have you painted with Hobby Mio? Have you used it before? I really like these paints. I like how they layer up and how when I spray them, it's super smooth on my plastics. So that is it for today's video. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Send me a comment through, send me a comment here or maybe on my social media, and then see how we're going for it. And then, you know, I'll help you in whatever way I can to answer any questions you might have. All right. So that is it for today's tutorial. If you do have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next time.